federal government in their ultimate wisdom is looking to move from what we have now, which are subsidized rates by the federal government, to an actuarial, I never get that word out, actuarial rate. That means your costs are generally going to go up. What was it, Brent, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20% increase?
Yeah, it depends on a lot of factors, you know, where your home is in the floodplain, but yeah, it could go up significantly or not that much, depending on, again, a bunch of factors. It's hard to say for each individual, you know, what it's going to be, but it could be significant.
In conjunction along with that, we have information in here concerning what's called the CRS, or Community Rating System. That basically is something that the town is looking to implement, or looking to apply. That CRS rating system gives you certain points for your municipality in order to help reduce the flood rates. If you can show that you're making an effort to reduce flood risk by implementing ordinances, laws, regulations, and such to help mitigate flooding, make your community more resilient, and make sure that, again, FEMA doesn't have to pay out as much to the loss as they have in the past. The other concerns that we have are the new flood maps that are due out. We right now have preliminary maps. Again, we will have a meeting on July 25th because there's a lot of details here, and I'm kind of skating over them real quick. But there are new flood insurance rate maps that are coming out. The DEP has hired an engineer in conjunction with FEMA to remap the entirety of the town, basically. There are areas such as the Stony Clove Creek that were never mapped before. These are going to have major impacts on a number of people and their residences because these homes never had to have flood insurance before, but now if you have a mortgage, you will be required to have flood insurance. So this is going to be more of a, this is a serious situation for us and it's a concern. We're hoping we're ahead of the curve. As Eric and I can attest that as far as we know in the Catskill region, this is the first specific municipal, local municipal flood management plan, flood mitigation plan. Other municipalities are looking to use this as a model, so hopefully we can get this done, move on, and start moving forward with some of the projects in here. No sympathy here. Also, in this, due to the activities of Safari, due to the activity of Irene itself, the town of Shandaken was awarded $3 million from New York State for what they're calling CRZ, or Community Reconstruction Zone Funds. These funds are to be used for large municipal projects to help resiliency and remediation projects highlighted by the towns or local communities. A number of members of the public, I know there was some outreach from the CRZ regional coordinator. She just, I guess she was appointed a week or two ago. This sounds like it's going to move forward. It's a very aggressive schedule. It's a 9-month schedule for planning and identifying activities. Luckily, we have our flood mitigation plan, which precedes that and actually gives us the direction to go in with many of the projects that we have. Shandaken, in accordance with the Shelter Watershed Stream Management Program, Ulster County Soil and Water, we know where a lot of these projects are and where we need to have attention paid. So we're hoping that many of the local residents and many of the people involved with the Safari Group are, again, I should reiterate, Safari is Shandaken Area Flood Assessment and Remediation Initiative. We hope that many of these people will follow through and be appointed to the Safari or the CRZ committee, and therefore it'll expedite our processes for getting the projects accomplished through that funding cycle. Eric, do you have anything to add to this?
You covered it.
Yeah, pretty. Yes, Gary.
Rob, on table 6.1, which was on page 110 on the internet, I don't know if it's table 6.1.
Yes, sir.
The inundation and erosion hazard areas.
Yes.
If you go down the list of Big Indian, where we lost one house and 2 seriously damaged, and another 6 very seriously threatened. Under inundation, it's got Church Street. It's actually Church Road, and you've got a blank for priority.
Yep.
I would highly recommend that labeled high priority.
Again, that might just be a typo, I think that's not for whatever reason. why that wasn't. John, yes?
Yeah, I haven't looked at the final report, but I'm thinking about the CRS, the points,
Yes.
which get you reductions in flood insurance. Was there any estimate of how many points you can get with what we hope to do? Or what's the plan?
Preliminary, and Candace, maybe you can jump in on this, I know you were involved in the CRS point conversation. It looks, with the points that we may accrue, not just from this plan, but activities that are planned in this document, if we do all take care of those activities, it looks like we could receive, I believe it was a 10 to 15% reduction for flood rates.
It's 10 per level, and it's definitely a 10%, and
We could make
you're
15.
working towards that
Right.
second, the next 10%, but that might take a little while.
Again, that pertains to things like, and I think we addressed this at the watershed conference, the annual watershed conference, that one of the proposals is that we start tracking building permits and activities within the floodplain. Meaning, currently, if you do 50% or more improvement to your home, generally, you have to bring the entire home up to grade or up to code, and now you can validate that, right? What happens is you have someone in a floodplain who develops, they do a 30% improvement to their home 1 year, and 2 years later they do another 30% improvement. Well, they have essentially circumvented bringing the entire home up to code, circumvented bringing the entire home up to flood resiliency standards by doing that. By tracking over a 10-year period, as CRS suggests, tracking these properties over a 10-year period, a cumulative 10-year period, you can therefore improve these homes that are in harm's way, and it's mandated under law. The problem being is that, again, that we are a local, little municipal town. Thank you, Aaron, for showing up. A local municipality, and we don't have our documents computerized, so it makes it much more difficult to track. Also, our old way of filing, which we are currently trying to change over, is that we file by applicant's name, not by SBL numbers, which are easy to track, where you can track the history of the property. So it's one thing to update the files alone. It's another thing to try to follow these through, knowing that it's just being done by people's names. It makes it difficult. So there are upgrades that are going to have to occur in the building department in order for us to implement that ordinance as such. There's other ones, Eric and I have discussed several times, increasing the culverts and bridges, making it mandatory that if any bridge or culvert needs to be replaced, that it be replaced with, say, a 75-year or 100-year culvert. If you have an ordinance, FEMA will pay for that. If you don't have an ordinance, they will only replace what is there. And Eric, you want to go more into detail on that, please? Take the mic away from you.
Yeah, well, the bridges that we got to replace, they put them back to the pre-flood condition. And one perfect example is Peck. They give us around $40-something thousand to put it back to the pre-flood condition. The reason why the bridge keeps going out, it's way too small. The built bridge probably is about $250,000. So if we had that in our codes of standards, that any bridge now built in the township, they can have to be to a 100-year flood. They would automatically have paid for a proper sized bridge, $250,000. And it wouldn't be a big battle now trying to get that done properly. So what I can do now, the only recourse I have now is, FEMA wants you to do a 406 mitigation, which you can double with the initial, what they gave you as their initial estimate, so I can double it to around 90,000. Still doesn't get me a new bridge, but get closer. You know. So the codes and standards, if we adopt a new set of codes and standards, it eliminates this problem down the road, which we know we're going to have.
Yeah, so obviously what's apparent in the town and through this article is that the flooding situation does not seem to be diminishing. Flood threat does not seem to be diminishing in any capacity anytime soon. We need to do this not only for the resiliency as we stand right now, but the resiliency and the continuation of the town of Shandaken, period. It is that severe. We do have major amount of losses. We are one of the largest town, or probably the town with the largest FEMA buyout percentage countywide. I think right now we have 22 properties that are up for FEMA buyout. They are probably going to be purchased by, if not the county, then the state. DEP does not want to buy these. And I'm trying to, Aaron, do you have any comments or questions? You helped, again, Aaron Bennett was Office of the Environment, has assisted in development of this plan.
If I may, no, I just think that one thing folks should realize that by adopting this plan, it makes you eligible for a tremendous amount of money that's coming down the pipeline through CRZ, there will most likely be some money through DEP that will become available through the state, from the federal government, and they all require you to have a plan in place before you can access those funds. So by adopting a plan, once it's finalized, then you can be eligible for really a lot of money to upgrade bridges, upgrade culverts, do other mitigation projects. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're reviewing the plan.
Yeah, again, we have a county hazard mitigation plan, but for the town of Shandaken, it's very generalized, and a lot of it does deal with the lower, flatter areas of the Hudson Valley. There isn't really a lot to do with specific topography that we deal with here, which is a very different flooding event than, say, on the Wallkill River, where the waters rise and then subside over some time, and sometimes it's damage to flatlands. Here you have raging torrents, as we all know, that come down and just take bridges out, take homes out. And it's not clearly or more specifically addressed as this gets, or in depth as this. So again, many of the towns in the high peaks area, up Schoharie County, Delaware County, they are looking, again, a lot of this information is somewhat generic because it is dealing with the topography differences between the flatlands and high mountain areas. So they can use those as a starting point, and then they can get more specific with their geographies within their towns and their communities. I'm sorry, Goach, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Shandaken Watershed Stream Management Program. We have no other comments. Again, we will have another meeting. We will go very in depth about this. Thursday, July 25th at 1 p.m. It'll be all about the plan, all about the new flood maps, flood insurance rates. Conveniently, we will be having our meeting the day after we have a meeting for municipal leaders, sponsored by the Shandaken Watershed Stream Management Program, dealing directly with these issues from the people that are making these decisions, state level and federal level. So we have a seminar to attend on that Wednesday. I highly recommend that members of the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Town Board attend either session. You don't have to attend both, it's one or the other. You should have the packet in your files, in your mailbox. So highly recommend that they attend, and please come to the July 25th meeting.
And if they want to know more about that, they're free to contact myself or my office. We can talk to them more about what that meeting's going to be about.
We have Ellen available for that Thursday?
Yes, I asked for issues. I spoke to her. Yes, sir.
Are the new preliminary flood maps available to be seen by the individual homeowners here at Town Hall?
Yeah, we have digital copies available, digital versions.
Are they on what they are the?
I don't have them on the website because they are extremely large. So we're trying to figure out how to condense it a little bit better so we can put it on the website, because Bob Cal came in one day looking at them, and looking at the map, it's very difficult to read straight up. And unless you have the capability to zoom in, it's tough to read where you lie. But I will say they are much more definitive than anything we've had in the past. They are digitized. They did it through LiDAR, light detecting radar, to scan the entire, all the corridors, all the tributaries in the Esopus, from the creek that we did not know was named Alton Creek, coming out of Bel Air, to right down the Esopus, almost to the Shandaken Reservoir. So, Candace.
Rob, I know when you were looking at the maps, you had some comments and there was some feedback that questions that you had or some adjustments that they might be making to those maps. Did you want to maybe comment on that?
Yeah, there were some areas of question for the Safari group. When we saw the maps come out, again, we've been through Irene, we know where the waters went. The funny thing is that FEMA, not funny actually, FEMA doesn't accept you saying the floodwaters didn't go there, the floodwaters went there. They do it through computerized modeling. So you have to argue using science to tell them where floodwaters went. We were under the impression that Oliveria specifically and above the Alabin Gauge, which sits just here at Fox Hollow, was inundated with a more than 100-year flood. This was our understanding for more than a year. Apparently USGS decided that that was not the case, that the gauge had some dysfunction, and that they, what do they call it, what did they term it?
Yeah, it was a strange technical term that geologists use, I'm not sure.
Or something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Vulcan,
And that was our argument actually, specifically with Fox Hollow, that the way the USGS gauge works is that they measure by depth, by channel depth, straight. So with the aggregation during Irene, following the Irene event, USGS apparently came in, remeasured the depth of the stream by Fox Hollow. Noticing that it filled in, they said, well, wait a minute, our calculation was based on it being this deep, but it actually filled up with dirt, so it was only this deep. So we're knocking you down to like just above a 75-year
Yeah.
storm. Because we were arguing about a place, specifically Wayside, up in Big Indian, where it was showing that the flood, 100-year flood would not only inundate the lake, but overrun the lake and the home, the grip house, everything there. And I've never seen that, I mean, in all the floods we've had. So now when we were informed that it was only a 75-year flood and we never actually saw the 100-year flood, we started making arguments about the avulsion. That in Fox Hollow, the reason you had aggregation here is because the stream actually moved channel behind Consolidated, and there was a whole new stream, almost double of what was in Fox Hollow Channel, running down Fox Hollow Road and going across and back, basically circumventing the gauge. So they said they would take another look at it, they will address that as need be, but they're very good at talking science, and I'm not accusing anyone of anything wrong, but it's just funny that you have USGS, FEMA, federal NFIP program. I mean, these are all federal agencies that all know each other very well, so. Cynthia, very lovely of you to take it, thank you. If you want to come up for a moment, I think I've covered just about everything. This is Cynthia Bianca from Tetra Tech, and she assisted in developing this plan, and it was a tremendous help and asset for us during the course of creating the plan. I think I pretty much covered everything: flood mapping, CRS, CRZ funds, hazard mitigation funding, projects.
Yes,
If you want to just give a general overview of what was accomplished with this, I'd appreciate it.
maybe I could talk a little bit about the benefits of the plan.
There you go.
Okay. The benefits of this plan are twofold. This plan details your flood vulnerability in more depth than your Ulster County hazard mitigation plan. So what it does is it will give you access to ranking in the community rating system, which is a program of the National Flood Insurance Program, and will help you reduce your flood vulnerability by enhancing your capabilities to manage your floodplain, and also will make you eligible, once you apply to the CRS, for reduced flood insurance premiums. So that's one benefit of the plan. The other benefit of the plan, of course, is that it is a roadmap to reducing the damages to flooding. There's about 65 projects in the plan that were developed based on the analysis that we did and input from the committee and the public. We had this process started over a year ago. We had a public meeting to inform the public of the process. We put an online survey to get feedback. The results of that survey are online in the appendix to the plan on the town website. That was all taken into consideration as we wrote the plan. Then we had another second public meeting to tell you about the results of the vulnerability assessment. We brought some maps here to show you. I had a third public meeting which talked about the mitigation actions that resulted from this planning process. And here we are at the public hearing. Once we incorporate any comments from the public, we'll finalize the plan. And the important thing at this point is that it's adopted by the town. Once it's adopted by the town and submitted to this community rating system, then you will be eligible to join this program. So I believe those are the benefits of the plan. It shows foresight of the town. It's very important to know that this is not a static plan. It's a snapshot in time. There's like 60-something projects in it, but this is a plan that should be continuously maintained and updated. The Safari Group most likely will continue to meet. It should, at least in the plan, it outlines that they meet once a year to review the plan, add projects, show the progress of projects. All of that is part of this process in the community rating system. Another facet of this process, which isn't reflected in this plan, is that the town also asked us to do a flood warning and response plan, which will also give you points to the community rating system. And what that does is it totally describes, what you do in the event of an event. It describes the setup that the town has. And certainly, now that it's on paper, you have a responsibility, or you can review that and just improve that. So this was sort of a three-pronged process. You have your flood warning and response plan, you have this flood mitigation plan, and then you're going to be applying to the community rating system. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. The plan is online. It's a two-part plan.
I have a question. Who exactly is going to do the mitigation? Who's going to do the work in the stream to solve these problems that we're having? Or are you just going to do more study on top of study?
That's a big concern, and that came across in the public meetings and also in the survey. Each project we look at it has a different lead agency. So depending on the lead agency, it could be the town, it could be the watershed. It depends on the project. But now also, you talked about, I guess, grant eligibility. The Hazard Mitigation Grant Program has opened a window for grant applications. And the projects that are in this plan will be prioritized higher than projects which aren't in it. So that's also another benefit of having this. Projects include things as, warning response systems, as well as structural projects. And of course, there's playing there too.
But for the last 15 years, they've been doing projects on this stream and studies on this stream. They put projects in when they did mitigation. They're all down in the reservoir right now. There's nothing's been done to solve anything here.
I understand that's a big concern, and hopefully this will be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Any other questions, comments?
Cindy, could you just confirm one of the folks, the anticipated percentage reduction in flood insurance, based on what they're doing right now, as I understand it, you could get a 10% reduction, and then without too much more effort, they're looking at probably a 20% reduction, is that right?
Yes, I believe actually right now it looks like we'll have a 15% reduction in flood insurance, and anybody has a flood insurance policy, you see 15%. And depending on how it's reviewed by the CRS commission, then you might have a 20% reduction. Of course, depending on what the town does with respects to administration and code regulations, that could even be increased to a larger flood premium discount.
Again, as I touched on briefly about, one of the ordinances was cumulative impacts, cumulative impact tracking of properties, but it becomes difficult where it's a paper trail based on people's names, not on SDL numbers. It's a difficult thing for us to undertake at this specific point, but we could certainly look to do that over the next year or two, and possibly apply for funding to get upgrades made to the zoning office so that we can do this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because it's better, we don't want you to jump in the deep end. We want you to start, in this shallow water, and get into this program and understand what the town is capable of doing, so that once you get in the system and get that rating, you're not in jeopardy of losing it. Because, once you get in this community rating system, you have to annually show them that you're actually doing what you said you did, and you're administering it. So it's better to, get in there and for a year or two, start off with this 10 or 15% discount, and then see what you can do to improve your administration.
So currently, we have no points and no adjustment.
Right now, you're not in the system, so you don't have any discount. Right.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Cynthia. I wish we had more time. I'm sorry you got stuck in traffic. We were worried you got caught in a rainstorm or flood. Ironically. With that, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearing for the flood mitigation plan. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. With that. Yep. With that, I'd like to call to order the Town of Shandaken's regular monthly meeting for July 1st, 2013. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Board Member Bartlett. Here. Board Member Bernstein.
Here.
Board Member Nigley.
Here.
Board Member Jordan.
Here.
Supervisor Dell.
Here. We have a motion for the previous town board minutes. So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Supervisor's financial report, June 2013. Ulster County sales tax, $27,849.49. Phoenicia Water District interest, $7.45. Ambulance, please keep it down, folks. Ambulance fees, $5,853.13. Phoenicia Library rent, $300. Justice fees, $11,850. Town clerk fees, $736.84.